Sideshow and myself released the initial wave of FairyTale Fantasies. It was really a strong response from the fans. They really loved seeing these designs I've done over the years finally in 3D form that they could collect and put on their shelves. So of course we wanted to keep this line continuing on. What I like about the extension of the collection is now we're getting to go into other areas, exploring villains, other characters that sort of break away from necessarily princesses and that sort of thing, but other aspects of fairy tales. Initially, when I first started doing these images, your gut instinct is to default to sort of these iconic representations that we've seen over the years, but I got way more excited the more I could push the bounds and sort of explore my own creativity. Change the color schemes, play around with sort of the outfits, still hitting those little touches that make it a recognizable character that we all know, but I actually really enjoy going down the avenues of how can I change it. That's what makes it unique and special to be reimagined. With Cinderella, this was the first of the collection where we took the initial illustration from the calendar and actually reinterpreted the pose specifically for a statue. What would that look like when the dress was being created? This is a freeze frame before the holes are closing up and the dress is materializing. The holes have a magic ring around it that's illuminating with paint. The bodice and the upper part was made to look like it was almost made of glass. All these little touches add up to something, as I mentioned, reads as, oh, this dress is magic. Red Riding Hood was a completely different tone to any of the ones we've done so far. I love the idea of getting the creepy forest element in. We even want to give her a little bit of a badass vibe in the sense that she's got her crossbow too. In other words, she's no damsel in distress. The story we wanted to tell with this statue is that you got the sense she was perhaps in a warmer part of the forest and she's wandered into a more dangerous environment. It's gotten colder, there's snow on the ground. Suddenly a sense of foreboding kind of rolled into the statue, and that's the moment you're catching. The opportunity came about to create a second version of Alice and Tinkerbell. I think we all immediately came to the same conclusion, well, you have to do a gothier version, Dark Alice. How can we make this even more unique and special? And I think the idea of the card suits, limiting the color scheme to black, white, and red, the colors of the playing cards. Tinkerbell, the solution presented itself. You have a character who's very covered in leaves, and leaves, of course, have seasons. Seasons have different color schemes. For whatever reason, the fall one just jumped out. These autumn colors, it just looks so great. I mean, when we saw the color scheme initially, we're just like, oh, that's the one. It's got its own special qualities. The Evil Queen was one that we've been talking about since the initial 3 statues. I really enjoyed doing very pure interpretations of an idea, and that's pretty much what you're seeing with the Evil Queen here. This Evil Queen is the aging supermodel. She's very elegant, very runway ready. The textures we're able to work in really comes through, I think, in the paint. Crushed velvets, translucent, kind of almost like see-through clingy materials that really sort of ride along her legs. There's no shortage of detailing with her. From her rings, her jewelry, her crown, the mirror, the ornamentation on the mirror. It's a very meticulously thought through statue. It still takes my breath away when I see that first 3-dimensional version of it on a table. It never fails to get a wow factor from me, so I can only imagine how exciting it's going to be for fans of this line to see these same 3D results that have totally knocked me out. I definitely can say without a doubt that the statues that you see in this line are the closest, most accurate interpretation of what I draw in 2D in a 3D form. The FairyTale Fantasies line, almost more than anything I've ever worked on, is probably the most collaborative experience I've ever had. This is a very detail-oriented line. Everything is very carefully thought through. It's been very fulfilling for me, and I think the fans see it. style, I think, is what sets this apart from everything else that's out there. I'm thrilled to be able to expand and to go into other areas and do even more. There's no limit to where we're going to be taking this collection.